welcome to day 5 from sunny Rotterdam. Well, there's only one of us here who's actually in sunny Rotterdam. It's Adrian. The rest of us are sunnying in our bedrooms, logging on to the online press centre. Hey, Adrian, what's it like in Rotterdam? Give us a weather forecast.
It's not actually very sunny at all. It was earlier today, but now it is cloudy with a hint of rain.
That could be any day. That could be any day in Britain. So today we had the second set of rehearsals from the first semi-final, and we pretty much had all of the first semi-finalists today. The only exception was Malta, and then of course Australia, a little different with its live on tape. So we'll come to that in a moment. So pretty intense day. A slight change of format for the second run of rehearsals in that they each have 20 minutes for their rehearsal slot as opposed to 30 minutes. And all of the run-throughs are public, as in they're screened, whereas in the first set, and the first one was completely private. And yeah, you definitely got a sense compared to the first run of rehearsals that the acts had got their feel for the stage. There was a lot of people looking more confident. A few performances tried out something different. So yeah, it's been interesting to see them progress. But in terms of sort of standouts, Danny, let's start with you. What were your kind of highlights for today?
Okay, so let me just grab my notes. It's been a really interesting day. I didn't see many of the second half of the first semi-finals, so a lot of that was new to me. But today, I'm going to talk about the ones that I thought were better. First of all, Ireland. Now, Ireland, first of all, had a bit of a messy first dress rehearsal because it's a very complicated staging. And Leslie was a little bit unconfident about where she was and where she was standing, what she had to do and things. It wasn't perfect today, I will admit that, but it is drastically improved from her first set of run-throughs. It looks like everything's starting to come together. It's a very, very complicated performance. There's a lot of special effects, but all the special effects are physical. So imagine something like from the 60s or 70s when there's sort of scenery on screen. Everything's all physical, so it's like paper or cardboard and things like that. It does sound a bit cheap, but it actually looks really, really good. And there's actually, it pans out towards the end where you can actually see that everything is a set. So it doesn't give the impression that it's all real. It is meant to look like it is a bit of a fake thing, but it actually works really well. Vocally, she was a lot better this time. I still think there's a bit more she can give, and there's a few lines here and there that she has to improve on. But vocally, I think things are coming together for Ireland. Whether it's going to be enough, I'm not sure, because this semi-final, let me tell you, this semi-final is tough. There's about 6 or 7 songs that I think will qualify. There's about seven songs that I think can qualify from the remainder, and there's about 3 or 4 no-hopers. So this semi-final is one of the hardest that I've ever had to predict, and I'm not there yet. But good for Ireland, I think, and I think that they should be pleased with that for definite.
What about you, Hass? What were your kind of standouts?
Well,
I guess you missed the very first day, so I guess some of these you were seeing for the first time.
No, because I missed half of them again today. Unfortunately, work sometimes gets in the way of stuff. Yeah, I only really was around from Norway on, and I missed the last few as well. It's all been go. But for me, this semi-final is all about Belgium. It's one of my favorites, and the more I hear it, the more I love it, really, you know. And I think it's just so simple, you know, great staging, and I think it's superb. But the other song that the more I listen to it, the more I really like, and that's Norway. It's strange, when I first heard it, I thought, you know, it's okay, you know, it's a decent enough song. But the more I hear it, it just really, really grows on you. You know, I thought Eden Israel gave a great performance. You know, I'm slightly worried about the Romanian singer. She seems a bit out of breath. She's doing too much, I think, in her act. And Azerbaijan, we heard there were going to be big changes, but I didn't see any really. I only saw one through. I missed the replacement of the Ukrainian singer.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a bit. That was quite exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I haven't really got much more to say than that today.
So about Adrian, I mean, before you tell us about your kind of highlights from a performance, you were actually inside the arena. So just describe the atmosphere. What's it like in there?
Well, the whole day was a highlight for me because I was in the arena. And at the very beginning, I wasn't in the first sort of, they decided at the beginning to bring people in groups to the arena, and I wasn't in the first group, I was in the second group, with also Esma from Wee Wee Blogs, who's actually quite tall, not wee at all. And she was kind of kicking off a little bit because they were being a bit slow about this second group, which I think led to a mistake where they led us all into the green room, which was amazing. And I was sitting in, I think, Norway's little booth, and it was just mind-blowing because the Roop were performing, the lights were going everywhere. The song is obviously a big, amazing energy song, and I have to say I was almost in tears because after a year of no Eurovision, a year of depression and misery and utter boredom for us all, to be sitting in that space and just watching all of this stuff, it like completely blew my mind. But then after a while, they realized we were in the wrong place, and they said, "Get out and go upstairs. You're supposed to be in the seats upstairs." So,
did they come and sing to you? You're in the wrong place, a la Belgium.
Sadly not. It was
Sorry,
more like,
make that line.
"Why are you here? Are you press upstairs?" You know, Dutch and direct, but done in a polite way. So in the upstairs area, it was essentially the seats at the back of the arena. I will say that you get a great view from pretty much every seat in that arena, and it's a real shame that more people won't be able to experience that. I would say there was probably somewhere in the region of 30, 40 people there, kind of spread out over an area, and some people filming, some people making it look like they were about to shoot War and Peace, the epic, because their cameras were huge. Some people were there like me, just on my mobile phone, but a quiet, respectful applause after every performance, and a nice atmosphere in general. When it came to the performances, this semi-final is getting tougher and tougher and tougher. I could make an argument for any song to qualify or not qualify, and I really can't necessarily pick what are the ones that are going to. They're the ones I know I would like to qualify and the ones I think deserve to qualify, but I could easily see any of them qualifying.
Yeah, so we're talking about kind of songs that have improved, and there were a few for me that improved. I would say there were none that got worse. There were none that you think, oh, actually, they might have peaked too early and they're on a decline. I think there's ones like Cyprus that kind of left me a bit cold today, but that's not because I think it did anything wrong. I think it's just, you know, we've heard that so much now. We know what the performance is like. I didn't feel it kind of added to what we saw first time around, and I'd almost have Lithuania in that category as well. They, you know, they did it well, they didn't get any worse, whereas Ireland improved a lot, I thought. I still think there's probably a risk of them missing out, unfortunately. Slovenia, she looked a lot more confident on stage, looked a lot happier performing today, but again, I think is still probably going to struggle. I think of the kind of that sort of run of up-tempo songs, your Croatia, Israel, Azerbaijan, I still can't see all of them getting through, and I keep changing my mind which is the one that's going to miss out. Actually, at the moment, I've got Azerbaijan down as the one that's more likely to miss out than say Croatia and Israel. Obviously, Cyprus is going through, but yeah, there's an argument to be made for any of them to get through. And yes, I know we say that every year. You say, you know, obviously that's going to get through, obviously that's going to get through, but it really feels too close to call. And for me, again, Belgium did a great rehearsal. I think the camera work is just so impressive. There's a fantastic shot where the backing singer just appears over the shoulder of Geike, and it just looks incredible on camera. So yeah, I can't call this. Danny, you look like you were disagreeing with me on Cyprus.
So first of all, Cyprus, I didn't see Cyprus last time around. So this is my first time seeing Cyprus today, and this was actually my favourite performance of the day. I was actually really surprised how great a singer Elena is, because you kind of think that, okay, she's going to be like Elenia Ferreira and a bit like Tamsa, but this girl is a far better singer than either of them. She looks really good. Okay, the whole thing's a bit generic and stuff, but she moves really well, she sings really well, and there's a fantastic bit at the very end where they actually wheel on El Diablo in letters. It's a big massive prop, and then at the end they just set it on fire, and it looks amazing. So I think okay, if you've seen it and heard it a lot, then it might get a bit tiring. But for the people that are hearing this for the very, very first time, it's going to stand out. And I think it's by far the best of the girly pop songs. Because we've got Croatia, Israel, Azerbaijan, Cyprus. And I think by far that is the best one out of all of them. And I can actually see this top three in the semi-final. There's no and depending on where she is in the final, I think she could do really well. So for me, I think Cyprus is definitely one where it's definitely one to watch. As for the other ones with Azerbaijan, Israel and Croatia, they're all fighting for the same spot. 2 might make it. I don't think all 3 will, but I think Azerbaijan has has a bit of a better chance because it's an ethnic one, and the others are a bit more kind of, I mean, Croatia and Israel are pretty much the same song, to be honest. It's very same staging with 4 million dancers, and they're all kind of doing roughly the same kind of thing. Where I think Azerbaijan stands out a little bit more because it's girl with the singers and it's more ethnic. And on the very last performance, she has a lot of fire and stuff. So yeah, but it is very hard semi-final to predict. And who knows? We're going to have to wait and see what happens until we see the first run through of the dress rehearsal. The last thing I want to mention is Belgium, and I know you guys liked it, but I felt it was a little bit dull, and I felt there was a bit of the background when you see Geiki's face, and it looks like that you're looking up her nostrils, a bit like the Blair Witch Project, and
a bit like a COVID test.
And I'm like, why did they pick that? It's like really unflattering, and it is a nice thing. She does sing well, but it seems a little bit dull to me. But it could be something that the juries might like, and it could be something that stands out for them. I just can't see the televoters going for it at all. So who knows? You know, it's a tough one.
The song we have not mentioned, probably the best of the morning, was Russia. That song, that performance is amazing. He just gives so much. And they've changed it, I think, a little bit. So now that there are a few words appearing in the backdrop, which kind of hammer home the message of the song a lot more. And I really think she should do something as well, where she drops the word Russian at one point. Instead of singing all Russian women, she should just sing all women should know and really hammer home that message. But the performance has such energy and such sass and attitude. It is amazing. I was like punching the air, and I think, Monty, I wrote to you and went, this could win. That might be a bit of a push, but I got very excited.
There's an incredible bit in that performance I love, and it's at the bridge where they all turn to face the big screen, and you've got all the women on the screen. That moment just looks incredible on camera.
Well, they have
see how small they are against the kind of the big backdrop.
I think I've seen some trans people there as well, and they also have some. I think they have some guys dressed in drag as well and things like that. So it is a very. I mean, Manisha's a very LGBT friendly person anyway. So for Russia, for them to come up with a station like this, it's unheard of, and it's a
part of Russia that we just don't know in Western Europe that much. Yeah. The narrative we hear about Russia is always led by Putin and always led by the kind of Russia is a socially backwards or socially restrictive country, and it's not in so many ways. The individuals, the people that live there, are battling just as much against Putin as we are in Western Europe. Yeah. And I think for Europe to see this narrative, I really hope it gets to Saturday night, to see this narrative, to see this side of Russia. It just gives, it's a whole new side to Russia, and I really hope it does well.
Were there any for you, Adrian, that having heard them kind of via a TV screen, via online, that actually sounded a lot better live? Because that's going to be an interesting, most of us won't actually get to see these songs live, but were there any that actually came across better in the arena than they do on TV?
Well, Russia for sure. But I think, a lot of the girly pop songs, the Israel, Azerbaijan and Croatia, they all kind of did a little bit more in the arena itself. Ukraine as well is amazing in the arena. It is like an assault, even though the main singer wasn't there today. It still is a real like slap in the face in a good way. I could easily see Ukraine actually being the winner of this semi-final. And yeah, nearly everything in the arena looks better. There's a couple that don't. So Ireland doesn't really work in the arena that well because she's performing to a camera for most of it. Similarly, Belgium doesn't appear that good because it's kind of an inwards to a camera performance, but they're not bad in the arena either.
Yeah, let's talk about Ukraine then first of all, because obviously what happened was we got an email through, it must have been about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it said statement for Russia's second rehearsal. And we're like,
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Sorry, what's going on here? And read through that, and it said the singer was she wasn't feeling very well. So for a precaution, they've given her a PCR test, and she's not going to be performing today, and there will be a stand-in. So of course the rumour mill went crazy. Everyone's thinking she got COVID, things like that. But at the moment, all we know is that she wasn't feeling well. She got the PCR test, and we will find more if anything happens the next time. So we had a stand-in singer who I think was the girl who basically stood in beforehand, because what happens is that 2 or 3 weeks before rehearsals, to get the camera shots right and to get the audio right, they have local singers that are singing the songs. Most of them probably can't speak the language, so she was singing in Ukrainian and phonetically, I think that's the right word you say. So, but she was actually really good, and the whole thing came across really well. And yeah, Ukraine is one that's really gone up in most people's marks. I can see a lot of the press seem to think that it could actually even win the whole contest.
I don't think she was actually singing though, because if she was, she has an exactly similar voice to the current singer, and I sort of feel that's unlikely given the style of singing. She was really.
I thought she. Yeah, it did look like she was singing live. She was a decent singer.
Yeah.
In the arena at least, it sounded exactly like the track from the band themselves.
I think there was a lot of backing vocal. I think they did have some more pre-recorded backing vocal, but yeah, I think it was a live performance. Ukraine's really standing out for me. I do think that could well win the semi-final, could win the final maybe. I think top 5 is definitely likely for the final. I'm still not entirely sure if it's going to get the win.
It does remind me of Voda from Bulgaria, for Elite Stoyan from 2007, I think it is. It's that kind of same kind of thing, and that came 4th. This one probably is along the same kind of line. So I think top 5, but for me it's a bit too different for it to get enough votes to win. But who knows?
Haas, you saw Ukraine, didn't you? That was one of the ones you managed to catch.
Unfortunately, I had the vocal at the time, so I had to put on mute.
But it's very visual, so even if you didn't hear it.
It's gone all wrong today, unfortunately. But I would take your guys' word for it,
So the one
I love Ukraine anyway. Even before we, came here to sort of Rotterdam, it's just it's always been in my top 10. I think it's original. I think it really sort of smacks you in the face in a good way, and the lead singer, hopefully she'll be better. She looks so spooky and menacing. It's just wonderful. She's telling you had better vote for me or else.
Oh, it's captivating. She's mildly terrifying.
Yeah. We haven't spoken about Sweden though, have we, today?
No, we've not.
I think Sweden, it's solid and safe and Swedish, and he has the unfortunate task of coming after Russia, which has just so much energy. That sort of solid, good performance, nothing wrong with it, all fine. Maybe it falls a little flat, and if there was one that if there was a few that I would say could be in danger, then Sweden probably would be one of those. But then also it does have Norway and some other country, some other Scandinavian country in there to vote first. So maybe it will get through.
Well, do we think we're just saying it's safe and solid and Swedish because it is, but because we've got so used to that kind of style, we're kind of getting a bit kind of immune to it. And actually, the televoters and the jurors will get it through because it is what it is. It's a solid middle of the road pop song.
Well, the televoters for Sweden over the last few years have all been dwindling, and you don't know whether that's because it's Sweden or because of the songs themselves or what the sort of factors at play there are. But yeah, I mean, I could easily see a situation where Sweden does really well with the jury and less well with the televote, or vice versa, for that matter too.
Personally, I think it is one of the weaker songs, and it's only got Norway as a local Scandi friend in that semi. You got Lithuania nearby, of course, but I don't know. I mean, I think I prefer at least 10 other songs to the Swedish one. But
yeah, I still think it's going to get enough jury support to get through. It's solid performance. It's just not very exciting. It's solid. He sings it well, apart from the very end of the song when he really strains for the last few notes. I know I've said before he hasn't been very well, but I just think he's straining himself too far, and it just sounds a bit kind of off. Yeah.
You never think that's in the arena, because as he was coming to the stage, he was like, "And can you hear them?" He was like singing the whole way along, like a child on acid in some way. He really is like someone has given him. It's like someone's given him all of Moldova's sugar, because he is like.
You just know, if this was normal times and no COVID, he'd be one of the characters of the fortnight, wouldn't he?
Oh,
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Well, he does. It is what I call a Riker, and if anyone remembers that, when he bends down, does that crouching up and down and stuff like that. If anyone remembers Riker's performance from Switzerland from a few years ago, she came dead last. It does that kind of thing where it just looks a bit strange, but you know, he is quite a likable person, and he does give his all. So I do think that he's going to do enough to qualify, but I can't see Sweden up there in the upper echelons of the final somehow.
Yeah.
Lester, you've mentioned here that there's a kind of a blinding light in Sweden, and actually that's what the head of delegation said in a meet and greet, that they were looking to see if they could bring the light levels of their performance down a little bit to sort of darken it. So,
I was going to say we shouldn't worry too much about what it looks like in the arena. That doesn't really matter at all. It's all going to be what the TV viewers see. I mean, from experience, we've had songs sound really great in the arena, but on a transmission, you can really spot the bad notes and everything.
And also for the arena audience, I mean, none of us will have seen live music for about 15 months. So literally anyone could be on that stage and doing anything, and we'd be like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!"
Oh my God, it's Gemini singing live. We love it. It's the best thing we've heard.
12 points, Gemini. Done.
I see Alistair's mentioned Australia. What did they do in the arena there? So did they play out when you were there? Did you see them play out the whole clip, or?
I didn't see anything in the arena, but I also didn't stay in the arena because that was just before lunch and I was hungry. And I don't like that Australian song, so I didn't really want to hear it. But on the screens in the press center, you could see a video of it, but there was no audio or anything like that coming through.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube now, and I think it's a 45-second clip of the actual performance. So we get a chance to see roughly what it looks like. It looks fine. It does kind of look like she's performing on Skype, because it does kind of look a bit, compared to the stuff that they're doing in the arena, it just doesn't look quite the same. So I do think she's going to be massively hindered by that. Because at least now what's happening is that they've told us that any country now that's performing, that's here now, they will not be using the backup tapes now. They will be using the second dress rehearsal what I think it's the very last one of the second dress rehearsal. So if any country doesn't manage to make it due to COVID reasons, that will happen. Whether that happens we'll see what happens in Ukraine at the moment. So now we will at least have, for every semi-finalist that's followed semi-1, we will have a live on stage performance from Rotterdam, at least,
which is fair enough. They've made it this far.
Yeah.
From what I saw in the video for Australia, it didn't look to me as though that it was like, this is so obviously on a different stage. It was quite sort of, the background was quite abstract or nondescript, should we say. It didn't look to me like it was like, oh, they are like, just entirely on a totally different stage. It is, of course, but it doesn't necessarily sort of hit you over the head that it's a totally different stage, because the stage that is there has been configured in many different ways. And like, for example, with Croatia, I hadn't realized until today, when I saw it in person, that she's not even on the main stage of the arena. She's on the kind of the bridge, as they call it, which actually opens up. I didn't even know that until today. And they kept saying the bridge is open, and I was like, what's the bridge? What's the bridge? What's that bit? And she's on the satellite stage as well. And so, the stage sort of configuration is so different in so many ways that hopefully that won't stand out too much for Australia.
Okay, cool. I'm conscious it's pretty much past. So before we wrap up, just to look forward to tomorrow, and God, it's a long day tomorrow. So I think we've got the rest of semi-final 1, otherwise known as Malta. And then we've got semi-final 2 from San Marino up to Serbia, and then it's the first rehearsal for the Big 6, Big 5 plus the Netherlands. So our first chance to see James Newman. He'll be performing at 5:15 UK time. So it's a long day ahead of us tomorrow. It's going to be quite exciting. Slightly nerve-wracking. Always nerve-wracking ahead of the UK's first performance.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good day. So we'll be back on. Usually we're at 6 o'clock, but I think we're pushing it back to 6:30 tomorrow. Because Spain finishes at 6:25. Although actually, maybe we're better pushing it back a little bit later, just in case there's slightly delays. Because with it being a long day, there's probably likely to be delays.
Yeah,
So
let's plan to start at 6:30.
Okay.
We'll kick things off, and then well, sadly I have to go to work. I say sadly, I'm actually going for drinks tomorrow. Remember those things, though. I might have to love you and leave you, but yeah, slightly terrified to see what James brings to us, but I'm sure it'll.
So by the end of tomorrow, those of us who can see the rehearsals will have seen a winner, because we've seen all the performances. Maybe we've already seen the winner, assuming one of the big five don't do it, but of course there could be potentials in there. But yeah, by tomorrow we will have seen what the winner of Eurovision 2021 looks like. Yeah,
and it's still, at the moment, France is still the favourite to win. So will that change tomorrow? Who knows? And Malta's starting to creep up again. So let's just see what happens then. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll have a better picture, and maybe we can start doing a better predictions. You never know.
Well, France is my favourite, so I don't mind.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone.